Hello and welcome to week 11 in Rhetoric 3326. This is your instructor, Dr. Heidi Harris, and I want to walk you through the next project for our class, which will be a group project where you will be creating a resource to help others in your profession with their technical writing. So at this point in the course, you've been through a major project, the formal report, a lot of stages of that report. The second project is going to address some of the issues that you encountered during that formal report to create a resource for others who might be creating similar projects. So in this video, we're going to start out on the home page for Blackboard and go to the schedule area in Weebly to talk about the next few weeks and what will happen with this project. Basically, we have another 4-week set of activities around this project, weeks 11 through 14. And in week 11, you'll first be creating an action plan with your group that kind of works like the proposal did for the formal report to lay out the steps that you're going to be taking as a group to create the project. Week 12 is a group work week. The only thing you'll have do, so in other words, is a meeting with me, but you'll be working together to create your group project that you'll submit in week 13 and then review in week 14. So if you begin working right at the beginning of week 11, your group will basically have 3 full weeks to complete the project. So I'm going to walk through each one of the steps of the project, beginning with a description of the project itself so we know what we're talking about. Sorry about that error message. So if you go to Assignments and Group Project, click on that link, you'll see the project itself. So there are really 2 big reasons that I do a group project online. And the first is, as a professional, I do group projects online all the time. And in the 21st century, chances are that you'll be working with people who telecommute, who work remotely, who work at different branches of the same company, or who are working as professionals at different companies. And you'll have to learn the skills to be able to communicate with them effectively online. So for this scenario, for this particular project, we're going to pretend that your supervisor in whatever area you're working in is unhappy with the level of writing of employees in your department. So you have completed this technical writing course, or at least half of it in real life. So the supervisor has assembled yourself and your colleagues into a technical communication committee, and you have 3 basic charges, and these are located in the assignment itself. So first, you're going to research current issues and problems with technical communication for employees in your profession. So this will require both looking at the problems perhaps you and your colleagues had with the first project, doing some research online to see what people going into your particular field struggle with in writing in the workplace, and identify and create resources that address those issues and problems. So in other words, you're going to be creating, in this case, a website that your colleagues can access with either found materials or materials you've created, or probably both, that help them with major issues in technical writing. So your primary audience here is going to be your colleagues in this semi-fictional scenario. They're going to be required to use this resource to improve their writing. So how can you create a website as a team that will help your colleagues with some of the issues that they might commonly face in workplace or technical writing? I have some FAQs here, mostly dealing with how you might feel about working on a group project and why I am still making you work on a group project anyway. And then the details of the project itself here. There are a number of sites we could use for the final project. To save time, we are going to use Weebly, and that is the free web creation resource that I use to host this class. So this page, the pages that you see our assignments on, are actually hosted through Weebly. And just for the ease of letting me help you work through Weebly, we're going to go ahead and use that. I know there are probably others and maybe even better ones. This is the Weebly website. It looks like you have to log on with a Facebook account. You actually don't. You can just use your name, your email, and your password. And for this project, only one of you will really need to sign up for the Weebly site and create it, and then you should be able to share that with others. And I'm not sure exactly if you'll have to create another website or each one of the group members will have to create a login to access the website or not. You might need to, but you'll be working from one main site that everyone's going to work on collaboratively. And I'll show you in a second what that will look like. So in week 11, and this kind of breaks down the steps for the weeks. Your first week, you're going to focus on creating your group action plan. And that's described in chapter 2 of our textbook, but the action plan itself, the template for that is on page 22. And basically you're going to submit that project planning form to me. You'll need to have all of the elements filled out in specific detail, when you're going to have your research due, when you're going to kind of have a plan and outline due, when you plan to have your first draft due. So this is basically the meat of how you work in a group. Setting these smaller goals are going to help your group members to be able to complete these goals. One of the ways that teamwork falls apart is when you all say, okay, we're going to split up these parts, divvy these parts, and then we're going to all just go out and do them. What I'd like you instead to do is really practice the idea of working as a team online. We will have one scheduled synchronous meeting where in week 12 you'll meet as a group online with me using the chat feature in Google Documents. So under work schedule, you can list as many team meetings as you like, but the meetings with instructor is going to be a meeting with me, and you'll need to work as a group to schedule that when you're ready with me, so we make sure we're all on the same page. Probably be about 15 to 20 minutes tops, I'm anticipating. Maybe half an hour if you're really having questions that you want to ask. And then the Think About It section, go ahead and read that for the assignment. Want to point out one quick note. Make sure that the training module, this thing that you're creating for your colleagues, isn't just focused on grammatical correctness. So writing goes beyond grammar, as we've been practicing. Certainly one portion of that is grammar, as we work with in chapter 7. But what are the other elements of writing that your team should focus on to help your colleagues become better technical and professional communicators in the workplace? So that's a brief overview of that group project. Then within that group project site, you'll see a breakdown of the other activities. In week 11, you'll see the action plan breakdown, which is this project planning form on page 22. This will just walk you through how to work through that with your group. It should be submitted to me by Sunday, April 6th. So before that time, you're going to need to communicate with me to set up your groups meeting with me in week 12 as well. And then here are your groups or your teams. Again, I'm on the 11.1 action plan site. I've divided you roughly by major. Group 3, this is not something I could do easily because you're kind of all out there in your own major, your own individual majors, but everyone else is roughly grouped with people who are studying a similar area to what you're studying. So in other words, group 1, you're going to be working on creating a website resource for people who work in electronics and computer, ET and telecom. Group 2, mechanical engineers. Group 3, kind of the business, arts, and sciences, people working probably in more just general office environments. Group 4, you're going to be addressing nurses in particular. And then group 5, those who are going to be working in computer sciences. What are the elements that they're going to face or struggle with as technical writers? One note really quickly about the action plan. You'll notice on page 22 that there's a category that says specific assignments and due dates, and they're kind of general: research, planning, drafting, revising. You'll want to make those actually more specific to the elements you're going to be completing. So when are you going to have the website up and running, just the general shell? When will you have the research on specific elements of the website done? When will you have individual pages for the website done, etc., etc.? So be a little more detailed in that section of that project planning document that you submit through Google Docs. And then finally, I just want to point out real quick, After the project is submitted in week 13, you'll be doing a peer review of the project. That's going to be a lot like the peer review for the formal report. You'll take another group's project and analyze it according to those 4 parameters. So, does it address its audience? Does it have a solid design and navigation? Is it easy to move between elements? Are the instructions clear for how people should work to to improve their writing? And then, of course, is the clarity of writing on the site itself meet the standards that the site is talking about? One more final note, working together as a group can happen any number of ways. One can be through the Google Docs area or Google itself, which will allow you to email, chat, work around a Google Doc, as I cover in the other video for this week. I've also set up in Blackboard a groups area where you can meet with your group. And if you click on that button over to the left, you'll also see, and mine's not going to let me do it, a list of group names that are just like the list of group names in that 11.1 site. So you should have access in there to one group. It'll allow you a discussion board. It'll give you some places for file sharing. You don't have to use Blackboard to collaborate as a group. And that's one of the things you'll want to decide at the beginning. How will we collaborate? What is the easiest way? Do we want to use Skype and set up some meetings where we can talk to each other? Do we want to use Google Docs and use the chat feature in order to chat? How you communicate or collaborate is up to you. And if you want some specific instructions or some practice on how to use those various tools, you can always set up a time with me and we can meet synchronously online to talk about that. If you have any questions, please let me know. This is a fairly extensive project. So what you're looking at is creating an online resource that's really going to require full effort from all the people in your group in order to have this project done. Again, this is going to replicate real-world writing. You have a charge for your committee. I'm going to be working as your supervisor and I anticipate seeing results. So if you have any questions along the way, please let me know. And I look forward to seeing the projects that you come up with for this assignment. Have a good day.